Hello, it's Mr. Westra here with Half Brother Reading 30, part number 2. I'm going to buy Zan back and give him to that sanctuary, I said. Peter had just come into the kitchen after putting Zan to bed, and we were all cleaning up after dinner. Buy him with what money? Dad asked. Come on, Ben, be sensible. From that letter, it sounds like Helson wants at least $10,000. I've got 300 saved up, I said. I've got 1,400, said Peter. I turned to him. You do that? He tousled my hair. It's a good cause, sure. My needs are few. So that's 1,700, I said. We could do some kind of fundraiser for the rest. I didn't know much about raising money. What if we called that reporter, the one who did the last story about Zan, and said we needed donations to buy him back? I bet... No, said Dad, with such force that I gave a jerk. Why not? I demanded. If this becomes public, it could be very embarrassing for the university here. Some bleeding hearts will think it was cruel and negligent. It'll make Helson look like a monster, and the Thurston Foundation too. Then we've got people suing each other over defamation. Not to mention the fact that we've actually got a stolen chimp on our hands. No, the chimp goes back with Peter. I assume Jack Helson made arrangements for a private flight, Peter? He's waiting for my call, said Peter. Oh, we'll call Jack Helson, said Mum firmly, and we'll make him an offer to buy Zan. Dad turned to Peter. I think we need some privacy to discuss this, Peter, if you don't mind. Sure, yeah, of course, said Peter, and he headed upstairs to the spare room. Dad must have seen the determination in my face because he didn't ask me to leave. No way I was missing this conversation. You actually want us to buy Zan? Dad said to Mum, dumbfounded. With whose money, Sarah? We have some savings. Nowhere near enough, Dad said. We can borrow. Have you seen interest rates right now? We're in a global recession, Sarah. It's not prudent. Prudent. To hell with prudent, replied Mum. I didn't grow up rich like you. Well, you're making up for it now, said Mum. A fancy private school and a new Mercedes in the driveway. I'll pay it all back, I pleaded with Dad. Every summer job I have. I don't care how long it takes. It's just a loan. It's really, really important to me. Dad looked at me then. He really looked at me, and for a long time. Then he nodded. Okay, Ben. Okay. I did something I hadn't done for ages. I hugged my father. I'm sorry, he said. I truly didn't want you to get hurt like this. It's okay, I replied. We patted each other on the back. I thought I felt his shoulders tremble, but probably it was just me. After a bit, Dad cleared his throat and turned to Mum. It's risky. If Helson figured out you read his mail and press his charges, you could go to jail. He can't prove anything, she said. I'll chance it. Well then, let's give old Jack a call, said Dad. Dad made the call from downstairs. Upstairs, Peter and Mum and I pressed our ears to the other phone. Mum's hand covered the mouthpiece so we wouldn't be heard. Jack, it's Richard Tomlin. Good evening, Richard. Peter arrived this morning, I hope? He did. Tell him I'll charter a plane for Thursday. And Richard, I'm going to ask you to take care of that cost, in the interests of maintaining good relations between us. I understand, Jack, but I have a business proposition I want to discuss with you as well. There was a short pause. What's that? We'd like to purchase Zan. What makes you think I'm willing to sell him, Richard? He's a valuable addition to my colony. Liar. I had to turn my face away for a moment. I was breathing so hard. I know it's an inconvenience to you, Jack, Dad said, but it's my son. Ben's heartbroken, or Sarah never would have taken Zan like she did. It was wrong, Jack, no question, but I was hoping you might see your way to selling Zan back to us. I'm willing to reimburse you for what you paid the university, and compensate you for all your expenses, of course. Peter's airfare and so forth. Helson's laughter rang over the phone. Richard, please. What I paid for Zan was a joke. Your department was eager to unload him for $5,000. Zan's value is far greater than that, even if I were considering selling him. I can offer $10,000, Dad said. Dad knew the Thurston Foundation had offered $30,000 for 3. He also knew that Zan was the most valuable, so why was he offering only $10,000? And then I realized it was a bargaining ploy. I hoped it wouldn't backfire on him. Helson said abruptly, Not interested, Richard. Now, please, tell Peter he's flying back Thursday with Zan, and tell him to come with his tail between his legs. No doubt he played a part in this fiasco as well. We'll pay you $15,000 for Zan, Dad said, but that's as high as we can go, Jack. It's a very good offer. I waited, breath snagged in my throat, for the yes. It had to be yes now. Richard, said Dr. Helson, You and I both know that there are numerous institutions that are always eager to acquire chimpanzees. Zan's unique in that he's very young. That sweetens any deal if a buyer is looking for more than one chimp. He was now talking about Igor and Caliban. He was saying that the lab was willing to take three because Zan was so valuable. Without Zan, there might not be a deal at all. Jack, it was our understanding that you wouldn't be selling Zan to a biomedical institution. Who said I was? Jack replied calmly. I was just giving an example. I hated him. He knew we didn't have any proof, none that we could admit to. I wondered if he knew we'd opened his mail. He must have suspected it after we took off with Zan in the middle of the night. I felt sweat prickle under my arms. What price are you looking for, Jack? Dad asked, sounding impatient. For Zan alone? Oh, I imagine it would be in the range of 20,000. That's a great deal of money, my father said. Zan's an extraordinary animal. I could hear the aggression now in both their voices. It was like being back in the chimp house and seeing two males face off. In a colony, there was only one alpha male, but here there were two. I could almost smell their pheromones transmitting themselves over the phone lines. I had no idea what would happen next, but I saw defeat for Dad. 20,000 was too much. Tell Peter Thursday then, said Helson, and we'll pay 20,000, Dad said. I almost squeaked in surprise. I looked at Peter, amazed. Mum squeezed my arm. I didn't know that you were so well-heeled, Richard, said Helson. Are you sure you have the means? Yes, but I'll need a couple of weeks to access the funds. You draw up a legal transfer of ownership and we can proceed from there. You have 10 days, Richard, no more. That should be fine, said Dad. Thank you, Jack. And he hung up. We all ran downstairs. Dad was pouring himself a drink and he looked pale. I'm a complete ass, he said. I don't know what I was thinking. No, I said. You're the alpha male and you didn't submit. He croaked a laugh. Where are we going to get $20,000, he said, looking at Mum. We can ask my family for a loan, she said. No, Dad said, with a firmness I didn't understand, but I got the feeling there was a lot of pride tied up in it. We only have a few thousand of our own savings, Mum said, and after a pause added, but there's a very shiny new car in the driveway. I watched Dad. The day he got that car was probably the happiest I'd seen him in the past year. He wouldn't part with it. He actually chuckled. It's covered in chimp hair now, he said, but we could get something for it. Once I pay back the car loan, though, we're only looking at 5,000, maybe. You'd really sell the car? I said. He shrugged. Who needs a Mercedes? But we're still at least 10,000 short. Fundraising might be the only way after all, said Mum. Dad shook his head. We can't be a part of that, Sarah. You don't have to be, Peter said suddenly. We can give William Eckler's organization a call and bring him on board. Would he help us? I asked. Peter shrugged. It's what he lives for. Why not? But they don't have any money, surely, said Mum. No, but they can collect donation once the word gets out. Dad poured everyone else a drink except me. We've only got 10 days. How do you spread the word in 10 days? More important, how do we make sure the universities don't lose face? Make it all about me and Zan, I said. I go to that reporter and tell him I'm going to buy that chimp back because I miss him and he's like my little brother and I'm afraid one day he might end up in a lab. I'll say I want to send him to a sanctuary where he'll always be safe. It's a hell of a story, said Peter. Everyone loves a good story. People loved Zan, Dad. They'd give money. We'd have our money in no time. Dad looked only at Mum as he said, You know how risky this is for us? She nodded. Dad took a deep breath. It could ruin us.